Hello and welcome to the Genuine Learning blog. Today we decided to take a look at a proposed SAS, Statement on Auditing Standard, that was issued back in November of 2017, but the comment period is still open. So we want to take a little bit of a look into that should you have an interest with commenting. And so this is the Omnibus SAS 2018. It was issued in a suite, and we're going to look at just this one, and then we're going to break down some of the other items that were in the suite of proposed SASs in future blogs. So let's take a look here at some background. As I said, this is the Omnibus Statement on Auditing Standards 2018, and so it's an omnibus. It covers a couple of different items in here. Issued back in November, comments are due May 15th, 2018, so you have plenty of time to respond should you have an interest. So the driving factor behind here is that we are trying to converge not only with the international auditing standards, but also with the PCAOB. And back in 2012, we did a big clarity project to converge with the international standards. However, subsequent to the international standards convergence, the PCAOB has issued a few different standards, and these standards wanted to be looked at. And so AS 1301, which is communication with audit committees, AS 2701, supplementary information, and AS 2410 related parties were all issued subsequent to the clarity project. Now, ultimately, the ASB looked at this and said, you know what, AS 2701 really doesn't apply to the people who use our standards. Remember, the PCAOB does SEC entities as well as broker-dealers, and that was really aimed at broker-dealers, and so they decided that AS 2701 wasn't something that they were going to deal with in terms of convergence, but they did want to take a look at communication with audit committees and the related party options. So let's start with the communication with audit committees. Now, one of the things that they have added in this proposal is that we would now also include in our communications the views on significant unusual transactions, and we'll talk a little bit about what that means, and the potential effects of uncorrected misstatements on future period financial statements. So these would be new requirements that we would have to communicate to those charged with governance as part of our audits. Now, the concept here as we go through this is that we would also have to, and there's this a may, so it says the auditor may consider communicating anytime they consult with those outside the engagement team. So perhaps you consult with your national office or you consult with another entity. Those consults could be communicated as well. And then also when they look at here, complaints or concerns regarding accounting or auditing matters. So if there were any issues during the audit, those would be communicated. And it says the views on policies and practices management used to account for significant unusual transactions and the auditor's understanding of their business purpose. And so as we go through here, those are some of the different things that they are adding to the requirements in terms of our communication. Now, they did have a question in here. They didn't propose any changes, but they did ask about it because the PCAOB has requirements regarding timely communication and that the communications need to be done before the issuance of the report. Now, they didn't propose that in the standard, but they asked, do we need to be more specific about the timing of the communication with those charged with governance? And so the AICPA has posed the question to commenters to see if we believe that we need a very specific time period or what our thoughts are on that process. In addition, wrapped up in this, when we talk about those significant unusual transactions, AUC 240, which is the standard on fraud, was impacted. And they really want to look at the consistency of the term significant unusual transaction, because today that's not consistently used. We actually have a term significant transactions that are outside the normal course of business that otherwise appear to be unusual. However, the part that says that otherwise appear to be unusual is not always included. So there's a lack of consistency in what we have today, and they were looking to see maybe we should start to converge with the PCAOB, which is significant unusual transaction. And so they propose that, and they provide a definition, which are significant transactions that are outside the normal course of business for the entity or that otherwise appear to be unusual due to their timing, size, or nature. And so that would be a little bit of a clarity in there in terms of what did they mean. Now, that's important because it's a new required communication, but there's also significant changes in the fraud area regarding inquiries as well as some things to do should there be these significant unusual transactions. Now, related parties was the second piece of the AS changes from the auditing standards that come from the PCAOB, and they basically try to enhance the requirements to identify previously either unidentified or undisclosed related parties or significant related party transactions. And so they also had an enhanced response to the risk of material misstatement associated. And so they actually say now that you must test for accuracy and completeness, and that's more than just assessing the process that's used by the entity. So today we look to see the entity's process and we determine whether it's sufficient. Now they're going to require, and they put in some new requirements in terms of procedures that would need to be performed in order to ensure that we are capturing all related party transactions. Now, there's another area which is kind of interesting in order to be consistent with the PCAOB, and that's the concept of business purpose. Currently, the audit standards for U.S. gas use the term business rationale, and they have proposed changing all those business rationales to business purpose. In addition, you would have to evaluate whether the business purpose suggests that they may have entered into to engage in fraudulent financial reporting or to conceal misappropriation of assets. And so there would be new procedures regarding looking at authorization and approval with policies and procedures, evaluating the financial capabilities of other parties with respect to significant uncollected balances, loan commitments, supply arrangements, guarantees, and other obligations, and then determining that there's proper accounting and disclosure for these transactions. Now, they do also add, in addition, some additional items in terms of inquiries of the predecessor auditor, the rep letter, and then regarding the business purpose, if there are any exceptions that have been made to policies and procedures, as well as inquiries of those charged with governance regarding these transactions, and have they been appropriately challenged by those charged with governance. So there's a question in the comment area that they want to know, are these steps relevant to non-public entities? And then finally, just something that we need to be aware of. This was issued, as I said earlier, as a suite of changes. And so there is an auditor reporting proposed SAS out there as well that brings in 4 new SASs, and you really need to consider all of them in conjunction. And so they actually put out 3 proposals on the same day with the same due date, and they basically say that you can't look at them one at a time. You need to look at them all together, because when they wrote them, because they interplay with the changes, they actually considered that the changes in the other ones would already have been in here when they proposed the new language. And so that's because of that, that interplay is really important. So we're just breaking down one of the 4 today, but remember that this is going to have additional items that will be impacted in the other one. And we are going to break down those 4 new SASs that are being proposed under the auditor report in separate blogs as we go forward. Remember, we have until May 15, 2018 to comment. With that, I want to thank you for joining me today. For those of you who want to know when this would be effective, the proposed effective date is for audits of financial statements for periods ending on or after June 15, 2019. So as you can see, they expect a pretty quick turnaround and a pretty quick due date on this. So again, thank you for joining me. I hope this helps you understand a little bit about this proposed SAS, and that it helps you decide whether or not you would like to comment. Remember, if you don't participate in the process, you can't complain about the outcome of future SASs. So thank you for joining me. Hope to see you on a future blog. Have a great day, guys.